Okay, hello, Mariana Ruiz. Hello.
Hi.
Okay, so Mariana is my business coach, and I'm going to let her introduce herself, but I just wanted to just say out there that she's my business coach. And so if anybody knows about business or anything they need to know, this is the woman for you, the woman for me. But this time, the foot is on the other side because Mariana became one of our clients in the boot camp, and I just wanted to be able to get her thoughts on that as well and her experience on it. So, Mariana, you want to introduce yourself to our viewers?
Absolutely. So my name is Mariana Ruiz. I own a coaching company called the Impact Driven Entrepreneur, and we help coaches to make multiple six figures working 3 days a week. I've been doing this for, like 6 years, coaching online, and I am a mom. I'm sure we're going to get into all of this, but I have two little kids. I'm a single mom. And I run a team of 9 people. And so I was a little bit overwhelmed. And I was like, even though I was like, when the pandemic hit, it really kind of like challenged me to step out there and be like, how am I going to make this work? Like, usually, whenever I'm having a difficulty or strain or struggle, I usually just go into like coaching myself and asking myself really good questions. And so I was like, how am I going to make this work? I saw that you were doing the challenge and I started doing the challenge and I was like, yeah, right. I need to like zero in on one project, do one thing. Because usually, and you can see up there, I have a project plan for another funnel I'm doing, but like I will do like 20, I have usually like 20 balls up in the air at any given time. And I like I really struggle to unwind, to calm down. And so when the pandemic hit, even though I had already been doing the 3-day work week stuff before the pandemic and before my kids went back to school in the fall, once May came, they were in school. So I was back to working full days, like, full week, what do you call it? Full-time schedule, Monday through Friday, even though I had been doing 3-day work week the whole year before. And what ended up happening is when the pandemic hit, I couldn't sustain that schedule. Like, I was just like, this is not going to work for me because I'm a single mom. I have to homeschool these children. I have to figure out, I don't know, school concepts that I don't even know or understand. And then on top of that, there's no cooperation from the children. So like, I was like, things have to change here. And then I had to really just make some decisions to cut back in order to be more productive and feel like I was moving the ball forward, if you will.
I remember
because it really was like a dump. Yeah. You remember this? How do you remember this?
And because I have to say, before pandemic, you are the most productive person I've ever met. In your personality, completely as an INTJ, that is it. So if anybody was going to have a productivity issue, I wouldn't have been looking at you at all, because I thought pandemic, no pandemic, you will have somehow find a way to maneuver things.
And I did. Did you know how I did that? You know how I did that? I was working like 24 hours a day. And I kid you not when I say this, like I literally so I had a team and I had one guy on my team quit. It was right around when I bought your program. And that's why I bought it, because I was like, once he quit, he was running all of our social media. So he was running Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and yeah, that's it. Just the 4. Just the 4. Just the 4 little things.
Yeah, I still only have one to this day.
Exactly. So like when he's running all of that and he quits, I'm like, holy cow, I need to change something here because I now need to pick up that slack. And my automatic response was, okay, I'll just take that on my plate. Mind you, single mom, run a coaching business, have 9 other employees that I got to take care of. Like, and then I have to do my own thing somehow and make some space for myself somewhere in there. And in the middle of this, messy-ish divorce, like all of this other stuff that quite honestly, like when you look at me from the outside, you have no idea. And this is one of my things that I'm being more open and honest about is just how much we're going through. right? So in January, my daughter was hospitalized for 7 days. It was intense. I had to take a whole week off from work. And then leading up to that, she was obviously very, very ill at home.
Yeah.
And so like all of this kind of stuff, like I haven't really shared a lot behind the scenes, but my goal moving forward is to be more open. And so thank you for allowing me to speak about this. But my immediate response is like, I'll just take on all his work too. And so I was up, I could not sleep because I had so many things that I wanted to get done. And I honestly had the energy. Like, this is not the first time I've done this. I used to be an ICU nurse. I've worked organ transplants, or I covered 26 hospitals. And so 24-hour shifts were part of my previous career. And I was just like, boom, I'll just get back on that.
Yeah.
I know what to do. I'll just fix that. And then I was like, you know what? I don't think this is working out so good. And I don't know how long I'll be. Like, that was like when you did your challenge, I was like, I don't know how long I'll be able to sustain this. And so I need to make a sustainable shift. And so that's when I said, we need to like have some serious conversations about what we're going to cut out, what I'm going to put as important and not. And you really challenged me on that, because a lot of the things that I wasn't putting as important at all, like time for myself, when I was working versus like what time I just had.
Yeah.
Those things really changed everything.
I remember giving an order that you needed to go to the beach. I remember that. Like, like I did some assessment that you had to do, and then, you know, and I was looking at it and I was like, oh wow.
And we did. And we did.
Okay. I know she's stressed. I thought, okay, yeah, I know you're overwhelmed, got all this stuff going, but I did not know. I don't even think you knew just how bad it was until we did that test. And then
the test you did.
Like, okay. And I remember having to say, okay, I'm going to just take it, and I'm going to admit it. Because I'm thinking, this is my coach who knows better than me about business. And I'm going to be telling her how to do her business. Which is, I need you to drop everything and go to the beach and just not do anything for a few days. And I wasn't sure how you were going to respond to that, except that you did. Like, I'm off to the beach.
And I took a couple of days where I just was like, I need to regroup. And like, so here's the thing, like, I have been privileged enough to sit in like boardrooms of multi-million-dollar organizations, mastermind with like literally $5 million businesses. Like, I invest in my business at this level. And I always say, like, there will never be somebody I won't be willing to learn from. And I think that's what makes me be able to grow and improve. And that means like, I will learn from my children. If you saw my post the other day, like, it was my daughter's due date and I wrote everything she taught me. And those things are so much better and so much deeper than anything that I would have gone and figured out on my own. And so the same thing is what I told you, is like, you could totally help me. And I told you that before I joined the program. And then I put my money where my mouth was. And then you did.
I have to say, what was it? Because that was the part. And not the part because it kept saying, oh yeah, you can totally help me. Could you help me on this call with this small thing? But I kind of dismissed that. Well, you already know what to do. Like you say, you already have all these masterminds and other coaches. And I just thought, well, you already have what you need. So you don't need to be in this one. But I obviously miscalculated it, because I wanted to say, why did you decide that it was time to work with me? Like, I'm going to work with Obi.
Because a couple things. One, in those masterminds and things like that, a lot of the advice is like, just push harder, work more, etc. It wasn't until I recently, and that was in like November of last year, found a coach that was like, no, your lifestyle comes first. Your value doesn't come from working. Like, he was the one that was driving this point for me over and over and over. And it's taken me a year to really embody that. And I still struggle. Like, I had surgery last week and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll just only do like 20 Facebook posts. And then that turned into like 100. I don't know. Like, you know, so like my default mode is work mode.
Yeah.
My default mode is work mode. And I know that. And it's so deeply ingrained in me from my career in nursing. so that's number one. But number two, like when your approach was, it can't just be about the blocks in the schedule. I knew that in my gut that was true, because so many times what is pushed is the productivity. Like, what times do you have? Okay, you have a 2-hour time block. You have to make that 2-hour time block be your most productive. And come to find out, I'm like, as useless as a bag, like, like just totally useless because I'm spent at that hour, but it's the hour I have. I was like, there's definitely some truth to that, because I have seen it in myself. When I'm paying attention to my energy and what's going on, I know that there are times that I'm more productive and not more productive. And so all the traditional crap about productivity and the way that you approached it completely different, I was like, I know that I have to do this.
And I'm so glad you did, because it's like, I'm going to join the boot camp. And what you're alluding to, the fact that it's about people doing time blocking, diaries, magic sharpies, all this stuff to be able to help productivity, which I found really annoying, and planners, of course. And none of these are bad. They're just not the real issue. So you joined the productivity, the boot camp, the Get It Done boot camp. How did you find it? What did you learn from it, and how did you change what you do in terms of implementing differently? What do you do differently now?
Okay. So the first thing is, I think like the biggest thing, and this is honestly what contributes to my success, is being willing to be coached. So when you said you need to like overhaul, throw out whatever you've been doing and start monitoring things and start listening to yourself and figure out what your energy patterns are, that was me being coachable, because for, I don't know, at least 20 years, I was getting up at 4 a.m. to do work early in the morning, because, you got to eat that frog and all that other jazz that's typically taught.
Yeah.
And like, and there was some good feelings about that, right? I felt productive. I felt like I was getting things done, but I was exhausted by 1 o'clock. I was just spent. I needed a nap. Like, I was not functioning well throughout the rest of my day. And so like this belief that I had that literally had transcended to over 20 years, I had to be willing to challenge that belief. And that's I think the biggest value I got is really discovering what time of day I can work the best at my optimal energy. And the result of that was, so I do like scripting for my Facebook Live. I just show up on live, and my team takes care of all the rest of the content. And so that scripting is very important, because it's going to dictate everything everybody else will do.
Yeah.
And that scripting on if I'm doing it on a Tuesday at 2 o'clock, it would take me like 90 minutes straight. And when we worked together, you showed me that like that actually was not my time to be doing that was not going to be the best use of my time at that time. And so I switched it to, I had to switch it to like between 12 and 1 a.m. And it was incredible that I was getting it done in half the time. So in 45 minutes, when typically it would cost me, 90 minutes, I was getting that shit done so fast without all of the mental blocks that I would have. It's like, I don't want to do the scripting. I can't do the scripting. It's going to take too long. Like all the crap, the drama that would go into it before was suddenly like, boom, done.
Even that alone, 45 minutes saving. Now, how much is that an hour rate? Because, at your business, what is that cost?
So, I mean, our clients pay like $1,500 for a 1-hour session.
There we go.
So that's easily $2,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Just like that waste. So some
if
people
you think about it, in that way.
Yeah, and that's the point. For us to think about it in that way, because that what would drive us to be motivated to cut it out. Because it's like, why spend 90 minutes when you can spend 45 minutes doing a particular piece of work? You can move on to something else, because it's a lot of money, really.
Yeah.
Some people, it's like, well, I don't care about the money, but it's a lot of time that you will have spent spending with your kids or doing that extra time you didn't have to spend before the whining started or the fighting started. That's when I was thinking.
Yeah. And I think it's like all the work up to it, right?
Yeah.
So it was 90 minutes to get the thing done. But what about the 2 hours before that? I was like, I don't want to do this. I can't do this. That's on my calendar today. Like all the drama associated with that is like easily another 30 minutes tagged on there.
Yeah.
Right. So like you're looking at $3,000. That's a lot of money to be wasting and throwing down the drain because you're just not organizing your life correctly.
Absolutely. And I have to say, the question, because I also know one of your team members also signed up for the challenge signed for the boot camp before you did. And both of you work together. How will this change the way you both do business? Because she's your second in command, really. So how do you both, how has this changed things in how you work?
Hugely. So that was another big reason why I joined, because I had seen how much more productive she was. And I was like, oh, I need to do that. But so what with her, basically, I think like we can just rely on each other more. It's like, oh, you're going to do this? Yep, I'm going to do that. It's not like, oh man, I couldn't get to that. And that's usually me. I will be the first to admit. I'm usually the one that like is behind on doing things, or like flight of ideas kind of thing going on. Or like I just got distracted or thought something else was a higher priority, and then like moved an entire project forward by myself. And then like, oh shit, I forgot I was supposed to do that other thing. Yeah.
That is me.
Yeah.
What was that again?
So yeah. So like, you know, it's really being able to both of us just be more productive together and just move the business forward in a much more cohesive way.
Because you mentioned you have 8 members of staff. You have 8 now, don't you?
8 if you don't count her. Yeah, 9 total.
How has that led to the others in a way? Because in terms of almost by proxy, the fact that you are now more productive, you do it differently without feeling any guilt about it. Your second in command does the same thing. How is it spreading to the others, or had it spread into the others in the way that you
right now, well, we don't know yet, but we are having them all do a time analysis of what they're doing and how long it's taking them. And then the next step is going to be really delving into exactly what you've trained us to do. And that is like, you know, how is their natural body's energy? But we've never in our company, not ever once I've never been a person that's like, you have to work from 2 to 3.
No.
I don't like that. I can't stand that. So I think it like your philosophy fits in with our company philosophy so well, and will just allow for all of that to move forward really well.
Yeah, I have to say I was particularly excited about that, because I just thought even the bouncing of you two, I feel it feels good to watch that with you two. And I thought, not that it wasn't before, but I feel like because you understand each other's energy levels more now, it's easy to be able to be more open about what you need and what you don't need, kind of thing. So I absolutely love that. What about the family?
I think like the batching and the monthly, the way that it affects you monthly, like that's another level of it that I've been implementing, because I have seen it in myself. Like, again, this whole thing with like being bedbound, but also doing a bunch of social media posts when it's not even my job to do so.
Do them.
Let's just say, right? Why did I have such a desire to do that? And it's because of the time of the month and all of the energy that I was already having. So it's like I see it happening all the time. And it's like, well, I'm not going to throw out the fact that that's also a thing. So really looking at the month in review and implementing what we're supposed to be doing on a monthly basis for our own body rhythm.
Yeah, I it's one of my favorite things to teach in it about your periods. We're talking about, your menstrual cycle and how that affects your energy as well. How has it changed the way at home, basically? Because I remember a conversation.
Oh my gosh. What do you remember about that conversation?
I remember about the kid wanting to eat every 5 minutes. This is when quarantine had happened. And they kept interrupting your flow with something that they needed. And it's like, I know that what kids do, but this seemed a bit excessive. And
it was literally every 5 minutes. Every 5 minutes. So the first thing you had me doing is like really reorganizing my kitchen to allow them to have snacks, because it was literally snacks every 5 minutes. And that worked really, really well. We're still doing a version of that because it's just a life changer. But I kind of like amplified what you taught me there. And I was like, where else? Right? Like, again, asking yourself better questions, right? Not just like this on Band-Aid, but like, where else can I apply this? And I literally reorganized my entire house. So they have like a school section, they have centers, they have activities to do. And I use like an entire scheduling system for them. And it has been an absolute life changer, because now they can get the things done that they want to do and they need to do. And then I can also get the things done that I want to do. And when we transitioned to virtual schooling, it just improved, even more, because they were already in that mode of being disciplined at home. Yeah. So like when they had to go to virtual school and the schedule's like every 15 minutes, they're switching to a different class. They already were in that flow. So it was like perfect timing. And also, again, like just no matter what advice you're getting or where you're getting coached, especially if it's from Obehi or somebody who knows what they're doing, ask yourself, how can I continue to expand on this? And like, ask yourself those good questions. Don't shut yourself out and be like, okay, well, I did that.
So that's whatever. The end of that. Yeah. Well, okay. Okay. The whole point of me teaching you this thing is so you can go and expand it for the rest of it. Exactly. I have to say that was amazing, because when quarantine started, we all thought it was going to be like 3 months, isn't it? Like, I could suffer for 3 months, and then the corona will be over soon, and we'll just get back to normal. And then it's like, wow, 8 months in, we're still dealing with it, which means you having a routine immediately thinking, whether it lasts for 2 months, 8 months, I need to be ready. I need the kids to be ready for this. And they have, because once it was clear that people weren't going back to school, then it just continued with the routine that they already have in a flow. So that I thought was amazing. And that's the genius of you, by the way, because like you said, not everyone would have done that. Just taking one piece of thing here and decided to fix it in other places in their family or their life to be able to make that same productivity technique or strategy work. So well done for you doing that.
Thank you. And honestly, like that is a secret for getting like multiple times ROI on everything you invest in. Like I am privileged to have spent literally just thousands and thousands on coaching. And every time it's always like, how can I expand on this? Because this is genius, right? And that is the frame of mind to like multiply your investment. If you're worried about investing in this program, which you shouldn't be, because even if you save yourself the hour, you calculate your hourly rate, just like we talked about, right? Even understanding this principle and expanding on everything that you're learning, you will have literally years of value from the program. And honestly, like how much heartache was that causing me to wake up at 4 a.m. for 20 years? Like it was heartache, right? It was stressful. It was hard. And, on the other side of that is, okay, how much more energy am I going to have for the next 20 years, right? Like, because I made that shift and I was willing to change my mind about something I was taught before.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. That 4 a.m. wake up call wasn't, you thought that was, I thought when you were doing it, that was when you woke up. I didn't realize that you were making yourself do it. And because you are very disciplined, you just carried on with it. So it wasn't like anybody else who's not a disciplined would just like, okay, that went out the window. But you being very disciplined on it, carried on with it. It was only when we started working today, I realized that was not even your best hour. It was just something that you felt you had to do because you've done it this whole other time. And it was amazing. What time do you wake up now?
Maybe like Well, now because I'm on surgery bed rest and my mom's taking care of the kids, I'm waking up at like 9, which is fantastic.
Like
But even
naturally
before,
9.
naturally 9.
9. There we go.
But even before that, I would just wake up with the kids, which is what you told me to do. And it was like, at first I was like, I can't do this, because I was hyping myself up so much in the mornings. You know, I was just like pumping up. I would have 3 cups of coffee. I was like doing all the journaling, all the affirmations, like I am so disciplined, you know, and like all this crap. And so I didn't have that artificial boost. At first, that felt very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. And then it became like, hold on a second. Like, what do I want this to look like in the morning? If I'm going to wake up with the kids, like, what might I need? And I really only needed like to beat them by the wake up time of like maybe 20 minutes so I could do some gratitude. And that was it. Like, it didn't have to be this, you know, 4 hours like
Elaborate
fiasco.
stuff. And I wondered whether or not you were doing that because that's what your energy allowed you to at least try. You couldn't do hard work at 4, but you could do the journaling, you could do the reflecting piece. I suppose the fact that you need 4 hours of it, not really. But I love the fact that naturally you wake up at 9. That's shocking, even if you know that right now. Is it shocking for you? Left to your own devices.
Left to my own devices, I go to bed at 1, maybe 2, and I get up at 9.
Yeah. You're an official night owl.
Yeah.
Isn't that
and like how much energy I spent towards fighting it. Now, there is the element of like, I'm a single mom and I have kids.
Yeah,
so
sure.
like, you know, the kids are going to be up at the hour that they're up. But like, you know, even if I'm saving myself those 3 hours of torture, like, it's a huge up level for me and not having to like drill myself to do something unnatural.
Absolutely. I actually love that about that now. I love the fact that I know that now. You're a night owl, which means it's good to know. When you have kids, there's nothing you can do about that. You're going to have to just adjust to it. What I didn't want people doing was doing anything that was too far out of what they would naturally do. You're more likely to stay awake to 3 a.m. than you are to wake up at 4. It'll be more effective that way. Obviously, the kids are going to wake up, so you might well don't put yourself through that by trying to stay awake longer. Is to give yourself, allowing yourself more time to sleep before they wake you up. But the older they get, you now know what it would look like now. You can almost have that as a, wow, I'm going to be the person who wakes up at 9. So any meeting I'm going to attend is literally 10.
Yeah.
That's when I get my morning
at the earliest. Off. Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
It's amazing. So how has this set you up for the next stage of your business now? What is it going to help you do forward?
Yeah, I think the next stage is really getting the team to do the same thing. Yeah. This system works. It's worked for myself and my project manager. I can attest to it. And like, it's just like everything that we get in coaching, like it's dumb not to do it with everybody else.
Yeah.
And so our next step is really to have our team going through the process, making sure that they're studying their energy levels and being the most productive for the sake, not for the sake of productivity and working 24 hours, like for the sake of getting their life back, getting their freedom back. And I think as an employer, being able to do that is so much more fulfilling than, and even this morning, like they were all like, we're so grateful we get to work here. This is so great that we have a business that, or, you know, a place to work that we love our job and that we are able to make a difference and that we feel valued here. And that is, I mean, for impact-driven entrepreneur company, you know this because you're a client, like that's one of our big levels of impact is our team and what we're doing with them. So that is the next level for us.
I love that because this is the thing about that. Once you get your team to do what you allowed yourself to do, they'd be more productive, which means you make more money. I know it's not the end goal for them, but they would accidentally make you more money because they're just working at a time that fits them. And if the company is making more money, they benefit from it. Hello, Gabby.
It's Adrian. He's popping his head in.
For a minute, I thought that was David. Hello. Kid number one. So yeah, I'm so happy about that. I think if every company starts doing it, every six-figure business owners like you, seven figures, start thinking, actually, can I get my team to be more productive, but without having to say, oh, be more productive? What would you say to someone who's sitting there, fellow coach, sitting there thinking, I don't know about this because I'm already working hard, I'm doing my stuff. What would you say to them about joining a program like this?
I would say like the quality of your life is more important than thinking that you're like the fear of not making the money. So it's just a fear, number one. It's just a fear that you're not going to make more money. You will make more money. You don't have to work your ass off and burn yourself out. And when you're doing that, you're going to end up on the other extreme of that. And that is like getting yourself sick, having to have time off, and like how much more will that cost you? So really like it's very short term. And that's why I knew that because I already went through that. When I was doing the 24-hour shift in my business, I had already gone through that in 2016. So I knew like that was not going to be sustainable because I made the mistake of burning myself out in 2016. And that's when I decided to start scaling.
Yeah.
And that's when I totally revamped my business. So like, you don't need to wait to number one, be working 24-hour shifts. Number two, burn yourself out and have to take time off. Like, this is your warning sign right here is like, if you can relate to the overworking, if you can relate to the like wasting time or like pushing yourself through this, to be disciplined, you need this program. That's what I gotta say.
I appreciate that, Mariana. That typical type A behavior, which is definitely tick. They're high performing people like you. So I'm so glad that you can talk about it. Where can people find you, by the way, if they wanted to know more about what you do?
Yeah, you can find us at impactdrivenentrepreneur.com, and we're on all the social medias. Just find us. It's either the Mariana C. Ruiz, or if you type in Impact Driven Entrepreneur, we'll come up in one of the searches.
Thank you very much, Mariana. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
See you soon.